Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 20 of What If Naruto Was Abandoned and Awaken at Kekkei Genkai. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and what's up guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over Anime King 3 of What If Naruto Had the Deadliest Bloodline, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support, and yeah, without further ado, would you say begin this new episode start? The intro. So, the last part that we left off. As Naruto was facing off against Minato after, Kushina nearly lost her mind because Minato had talked to her. And her mind refused to believe that that was her son because, if it was, the things that she had done, as she ran away. Minato and Naruto clashed off against each other as the both of them summoned a toad and Naruto summoned a fox. They started to attack each other more vigorously as Naruto's speed was just more increasing. Minato couldn't help but be amazed by his son. In the end, Naruto placed Minato's soul into a body. With that, the both of them went off. Natsume and Harrison were not looking in that good of a shape, as using constant max level jutsu on the reanimations, Natsume found that they could not be killed one bit. They just keep on regenerating after regenerating, and the battle was dragging on until Minato and Naruto arrived there. As Naruto was tired after pulling Minato's soul and placing it inside of a body, now that he was alive, he had one choice though, to take away the Edo Tenseis, and that was to use the Reaper Death Seal. He was gonna go out on his terms, as he said his final farewells. As the three of them took on the Edo Tenseis until Minato was finished, as the Shinigami arrived, Orochimaru ended up sacrificing one of the Sound 4, throwing him in the way, as the Shinigami hand grabbed the Sound 4 member and sucked away his soul, as Orochimaru started to flee. As Minato died, the group went after Orochimaru. They could not let him escape, but when they arrived, Orochimaru had Hana, as she was kidnapped, as he was using her as a leverage against Naruto, and not to mention he had Katsumi. Kimimaro brought him Katsumi. Now he had two leverage to use. He sliced the building as a small girl was going to be crushed. To everyone's surprise, Naruto caught the building, protecting the small girl. As everyone was confused, he was a demon but yet he was risking his life. Orochimaru laughed at the irony, as he laughed and mocked Naruto, and him and his team ran, leaving the rest of the members behind to face off against Konoha. And you were supposed to buy them as much time as possible. As Naruto started to lose his mind, watching Hana get taken away, to bleed at her throat, he started to lose it. He indeed lose it as a sixth tail emerged, but this one was different. It was filled with nothing but anger and rage. As Natsume was worrying, this wasn't supposed to happen, as she explained to the others beside her that this tail, one born from hatred and rage, and Naruto had lost his mind into insanity. She heard about this before, but when it happened, the person only carried themselves out in the end. No one was able to stop them. It didn't matter what they do, they couldn't run away from him. As Naruto heard the sound, as he snapped towards the sound ninjas, he obliterated all of them within seconds. As he turned his head towards the Konoha ninjas, but the small child had woken up as she looked over. As she saw the man that saved her, she asked, "Why did he look so funny?" Harrison's eyes went wide as Naruto's eyes turned towards the small child. So yeah guys, so basically that's what I thought of you guys again. Switch across the place, check the first sub, so this is begin this new episode. Naruto's eyes looked towards the small child, as Smoker looked towards him. His tails were twitching and waving behind him dangerously. The group of Jonins were petrified, as those tails had ripped through. So ninjas on their own. It was like they had a mind of their own, as their bodies were freezing up. And from what Natsume said, as Naruto moved, but two people appear in front of Mocha, their arms extended. The Konoha shinobis were taken aback by the two people that just arrived. Their suicidal actions to stand in his way, and not to mention who they were. The first one was Natsume, but the second one caught the people off guard. It was the Kumo Kunoichi that he had defeated and kidnapped. What was she doing here? I don't know exactly what is going on here, but that's not you, Naruto-kun. Snap out of it, she said. She knew Naruto would never harm an innocent child. She's right, Naruto-kun. This isn't who you are. Killing with such savagery and lack of remorse. That is not the man I fell in love with, said Natsume. As Naruto simply looked towards them, his claws were flexing. As he just continued to walk towards them, as he flashed away and appeared in front of them, his speed beyond what any of them could react to. His tails shot out and wrapped around them. His tails wrapped Natsume's tails around her body, so she could not do anything. None of them could make a hand sign or anything. The Konoha shinobis now knew there was no hope left. They had thought these women could get him back to his senses, due to the bond that they had with him. But the moment he wrapped them up in his tails, showing that he did not care. Many of them wanted to attack him, at least to get a good hit in, but there was this aura flowing around him. His senses were on high alert, and those tails, the way they saw it drive through the sound shinobis before they could even react, and his speed was beyond what any of them could follow. Not to mention he now had two hostages, Yujito being rather important, given the fact that she was now here for June exams. Even though she wasn't a necessary Konoha ninja, she was here for the exams, and for her to be killed on Konoha soil by a Konoha shinobi for no reason at all, that could give the Raikage reason to declare war on them. And after what Konoha has just went through, there was a good chance that they might lose. As Naruto stepped forward, he was taunting them, moving rather slow. The bloodlust from him was taunting them to make a move so he could slaughter them. It seems that no one wanted to be a hero today though. As Naruto looked down towards the girl, she looked up at him innocently. There was no way none of them could get there in time to stop him, as he was too close. As Naruto slowly lowered himself, the girl, naive and innocent features, allowed her to do something rather, well, dangerous that she didn't even know. She reached up and started to play with the bands that were hovering over his face as she tugged on his hair. To their surprise though, he hadn't moved since Mocha started to play with his hair. As he raised his hand, their breaths hitching their throat. Naruto-kun, don't do it! You will never be able to forgive yourself, said Natsume. As he struggled to get free away from his tails, she knew that the real Naruto would hate himself if he killed the innocent Mocha. But to their surprise, he did not attack. He actually picked her up, as Mocha simply continued to play with his bands, laughing and giggling, as Naruto was looking at her like a scientist would look at a specimen. He just looked curious. Minutes passed. The sound of giggling could be heard as Mocha played with his bands. Everyone then saw the change in his facial expression. He smiled. Natsume was taken aback. From what she heard, you were supposed to kill everyone around you. With the amount of bloodlust that Naruto had at the moment, she was confused. Here he was smiling, as Naruto slowly started to walk. As his eyes rest on Kunai, he then stopped as Kunai was backing away fearfully. He slowly put Mocha on the ground. As he started to push her along, Mocha pouted. As he slowly pushed her along, Kunai realized what was going on. Come here, she said, towards the girl, hoping that Naruto would not do anything while she was walking. As Mocha pouted, but she still made her way off, Kunai snatched her up rather instantly. As she released a sigh of relief that the girl was okay. As Naruto got up, ignoring the face of the shinobis around him, he placed the two girls on the ground. The two girls were placed down gently, as he just stared at Naruto. As his hand slowly reached up, he rested a hand on both of their cheeks. As he just looked at them, both girls raised their hand in place on his own cheeks, and they saw the look in his red eyes. Something told them that he wasn't a danger anymore. His pure blood red eyes started to change. His whisker marks started to recede. His extra tail started to recede back, and it appeared behind Natsume. His claws and fangs started to vanish slowly. As Naruto turned his head, as he spoke, Sorry, JJ, he said, his voice still sounding a bit demonic. As he returned back to his normal state, Sarutobi simply smiled as he gave Naruto a nod. He was glad that he was okay now. As Naruto turned back towards Natsuma and Yujito, that he was still caressing their cheeks, his face softened. I'm really sorry, you two, he said. You helped me return back to being me. Thank you, he said. I must have made you two worry the most. I'm so sorry. As he dropped his hands and wrapped them around their waists, and pulled them into a hug, both girls hugged him back with a fury, happy that he was now okay. Although we don't like how you became, we can't blame you for the way that you felt after what happened, said Natsumai. She's right. I felt the exact same way when my mom was taken away from me. We can't blame you for this, Naruto-kun, said Yujito. Thank you. Thank you both, said Naruto. As he started to feel lightheaded. Hokage-sama, what should we do? Said Kakashi. What do you mean, Kakashi? We will deal with the reconstruction of Konoha. As soon as the reports of the collateral damage to Konoha, the population and the shinobi are on my decks, then I will be sending out a team to rescue Hana Inuzaka and Katsumi Uzumaki from Orochimaru. Afterwards, because sending out a team right now would be suicidal. Everyone is exhausted. Everyone needs some rest. I do not mean to overstep my authority, Hokage-sama, but that isn't what I'm asking about, said Kakashi as he pointed towards the three of them hugging over there. Naruto-kun? Naruto-kun? As everyone snapped their head back towards the scene. As Naruto's body became so pale, not to mention, he was unconscious. As the wound on his chest where Orochimaru impaled him started to leak blood. Blood started to gush out of his wound. Both women started to panic. What the hell was going on? What happened, said Sarutobi as he rushed over. We don't know. 1 second he was hugging us and next this. Yujito's voice was full of panic. We need to get him to hospital. No, said Natsumai, as the others looked towards her like she was crazy. Your doctors will probably try something detrimental to his health before actually helping him, especially looking the way that he is now. We'll take him back to the mansion and heal him there, as she placed her hand on the wound, already slowing down the bleeding. But no, said Yujito, as she was the one that answered. I know what kind of things people do to Jinchurikis. Natsumai-chan is right. Naruto-kun is safer with us at the mansion. At least tell me what happened to him, said Sarutobi, as he looked towards Natsuma was trying to save him. I don't know, but I can guess. His body, while under the state of his bloodlust, must have gone into a state of suspension, stopping the blood from flowing out of his body when he was stabbed by Orochimaru. His body placed itself into stasis. No wounds that were given, or no new wounds that appeared. But once the bloodlust left him, the suspension stopped, and all of those wounds started to leak at once, and it was too much for his healing factor. I see, said Sarutobi. I may not like it, but very well. Take him back home, but please let me know what happened when you can. Wait! A voice shouted out, as everyone saw Jiraiya and Tsunade enter the area. I can help, said Tsunade. Let me come with you. Natsumai looked up for a second before snorted, as she looked back down. Your help was not there in the past, and it certainly is not needed in the present. Tsunade clenched her fist in annoyance. She was the greatest medic in the world, and this woman was denying her skills. Now listen here, Kyuubi. I don't care if you said that you're important to him. I am still his godmother. Despite my actions in the past, I'm the best medic in the world, and yet you deny my skills to help save his life while I'm here, just because you both have a grudge against me. Why don't you grow the hell up, and if Naruto-kun here wakes up, tell him the same thing. He is not a child anymore, so he shouldn't act like it. We're humans, and we make mistakes. Tsunade said in anger as she took heavy steps towards Naruto, thinking that she won the argument. Unfortunate for Tsunade, Natsuma was under a lot of stress as she was currently performing the operation to heal Naruto, and now this annoyance. A flare of killing intent shot from her, freezing the exhaust shinobis in their place just like Naruto did before. Mistakes lasting over a decade are hardly considered mistakes. Naruto-kun and I would never forgive a simple I'm sorry. And speak to me like that again, and there won't be enough of you for Orochimaru to even use as an experiment. Remember who exactly I am. I may feel a lot of regret for my actions 12 years ago, but I'm still a queen of demons, so show me some goddamn respect, because I certainly did not get the title of Kyuubi from my looks alone. Remember that next time you address me. Tsunade and many around her gulped as they felt the wave of bloodlust and killing intent. As Tsunade looked at her with a slight look of fear on her face. As Natsume spoke up once again, as for denying your help, don't be so full of yourself. To think that I deny you because of the rightful feelings that Naruto and myself have for you. I deny you because you saw that jutsu he used in the Hokage's office to heal his thigh. Just who do you think taught him that jutsu? Trust me, although he does a better forte on singular smaller wounds in the body, my ability is much better for larger scale wounds, which you currently have right now. In truth, if I hadn't asked myself, in human biology, I could have easily been the best medic in this world has ever seen, especially with my knowledge and my chakra reserves. But I am a demon, so I do not need such techniques. So I just learned the basis for what I need and worked on more important things. But even with this limited knowledge, I can perform the most difficult human operations like what you see I'm doing right now without any trouble. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm better than you, and you have little to no chakra left. At this point, you would only be a hindrance in a way. Snap fists clenched together. You damn arrogant little... Enough, Sir Toby said. Natsume, please return Naruto home and heal the rest of the wounds that you have not yet healed. As Natsume looked towards Yujito came over to pick him up so Natsume could continue her work. Until a squad of Anbu surrounded the three of them, with the captain as well. Naruto, Uzumaki Namikaze, and Kyuubi, you are both hereby on the rest. As the captain spoke, what is the meaning of this, Teiko? Said Sarutobi. Hokage-sama, orders from Danzo-san, Koharu-san, Homura-san, and half of the council to have Naruto and the Kyuubi arrested and detained and questioned. Under what charges? Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze accomplice to the Kyuubi by releasing it back in the world, attacking Konoha citizens and shinobis alike. More to the point, the last remaining Uchiha and clan heir doing a mission. He's a threat to the village and should be dealt with accordingly. And the Kyuubi is also a threat after killing so much 12 years ago and attacking the village. Those are all taken out of context, Teiko. If I thought these two were a threat, I would have dealt with the situation. Now, stand down! Hiruzen said. But because of his lack of control over the past couple of years, the Anbu replied, Hokage-sama, I'm sorry about this. It's an order from the council. As the group stepped forward, but someone stepped between them. Sorry boys, I kinda took a shine to the guy. And I can't just let you arrest him and his girls while he's in this dire situation, just because you and the council are shaking your pants. Said Uncle as she stepped between them. But Sir Toby spoke. Teiko, I'm the Hokage, remember. I rule the shinobi military in this village. This is not a civilian matter, and the council has no authority here. So I will say it one last time. Stand down, Captain. The Anvus looked towards their captain for orders. As Teiko looked towards Hiruzen, he released a sigh as he sheathed his blade. Good move, Teiko, said Hiruzen. You just saved not only your job, but a good few years of prison time for treason. Alright, you guys go on ahead now, said Anko as she looked towards the three of them. Both women gave the girl a thankful nod as they flashed away with Naruto. The moment they disappeared, the tension in the air broke like glass. Many of them released breaths that they did not know they were holding. Damn, that was pretty intense, said Asuma as he lighted up a cigarette to calm his nerves. Yosh, do you think Hokage-sama did the right thing just now, said Kakashi? It doesn't matter. We are not to question his orders. Besides, other than scare the hell out of us, he didn't do anything against us, actually. He helped us against the enemy, despite doing it in the most gruesomest way possible. True, but still, keeping him unsupervised in the village, what if it happens again? Next time there won't be sound shinobis for him to eviscerate. It will be people of Konoha, Asuma said, as he released smoke from his mouth. Kurenai glared at him for the nasty habit, and also going against her words. Tuh. Are you guys really that scared of him? Please. You saw the power that he has under his control, and with Natsume at his side, why hasn't he turned himself against the village yet? He could have easily ripped us apart with two of them working together. What you guys fail to realize is that we've been at Naruto-kun's mercy since the moment he stepped foot in his village. Yet despite this, he not only warned us about Orochimaru, he fought with us as well. And he was necessary. He was a crucial part of why we won. Even though 99% of the village still hates him, he still fought on our side and helped us no matter what. I'm just glad that I'm not a bigot and idiot like you fools, Uncle said. For not seeing who is real idiot here. and going against someone that is actually trying to protect us. Enough, said Sir Toby, after he just finished talking to Jiraiya. We all have things to do, and not to mention 2 eras to get back. As everyone nodded, as the envoys flashed away. Damn, once this village is stable once again, I'm quitting this job, said Sir Toby. About time, Sensei. I could hear those brittle bones of yours creaking all the way here. Jiraiya joked with a silent snap by his side. True, Jiraiya, too true. And was that a thought of you volunteering for the job? Hell no, Sensei, said Jiraiya. First thing, my spine network is too valuable for me to be stuck behind the desk all day. Second, if I was Hokage, I wouldn't be able to continue my research. Very well. Well, Snazzy, you're the only one left. And Jiraiya does have a point about his spine network. Both of them turned their head. As she wasn't even looking at them, her face looked rather detached. Said Jiraiya. Jiraiya knew that he had to do something to get her back in a better mood. Well, he was gonna be in a world of pain a second later as he reached and grabbed a handful of her ass. But to his shock and surprise and amaze, she didn't punch him. Now he knew that something was definitely wrong. She really tore into you with those comments, didn't she, Hein? Said Jiraiya as his hand was still caressing her butt. After all, he was not getting punched. You shouldn't act so lax to yourself, Jiraiya. You're even more guilty than she acts about Naruto's life. I mean, the very being that his father imprisoned him was the one that raised him since he was 6 years old. A job you two were supposed to do since Kushina left those gates when he was 2 years old. Not only that, in Snez's anger, she failed to recognize or remember what I've told you two about the relationship, and not to mention Natsuma's attitude herself. Once Naruto found out about this, he paused as he shook his head. I think you two just lost your chance with him. Just like Kakashi. I swear this village is full of fools when it comes to anything dealing with Naruto. Even I'm guilty of that. I really don't see why they haven't destroyed this village and killed us all yet, said Sarutobi. It was just a fact that he was stating. Perhaps, but as you said, Natsumai herself isn't an evil demon, so maybe some of that had rubbed off on him. After all, no woman that gorgeous with a smoking body like that can be all pure evil, right? Said Jiraiya. As Harrison turned his head towards Snazzy, you're the only one that can be Hokage until at least a younger replacement is found. Thankfully, Jiraiya never got the idea to make it an official topless day when he became Hokage. Otherwise, he would be jumping at the opportunity, knowing that he had that power. As Sarutobi was playing on their both weaknesses, Jiraiya being a pervert and Snazzy hating that, Snazzy finally snapped back into reality as she saw Jiraiya begging for the job, as he could make a topless day within Konoha. Snazzy's eye twitched as she moved forward. You damn pervert! She slammed her fist into his face, launching him away. As Jiraiya crashed in the broken rubble. I accept the position when you stand down, Sarutobi Sensei, if for no other reason but to protect the woman of Konoha from that, as Jiraiya was groaning in the rubble. As Sarutobi nodded towards her before he turned his back, a grin came on his face. I still got it. Well, they don't call me the professor for nothing, he thought to himself. Finally, he wouldn't have to be Hokage anymore. Damn that paperwork. Damn that paperwork, he cheered in his mind. Time skip. 2 days later. It's been 2 days since the failed invasion of Konoha. The village was rebuilding to get back to their former form. As everything was returning back to normal, those in the seats of power were still frantic over everything that has happened so far. There was a very important discussion, and that was what to do with one Naruto, Uzumaki Namikaze. Most of them realized the danger that they face. After all, after what happened at the gates, they realized that if he were to go berserk once again, none of them could stop him, as they wanted to have him bound, gagged, and his chakra seal away. And they were going to use him to bring all that bloodline that he had back in Konoha before they escorted him away from the village. Because if that thing turned against them, they would all be dead. But none of them could get inside the mansion. So to ease their worries, Sarutobi just set up envoys across the perimeter. He gave them the orders not to do a single thing. It was just for the council to shut their mouth. The second talk about what they should do about Hana and Katsumi kidnapping. Sarutobi said that he already had plans made for their rescue, and that subdued all the tension in the room. Danzo looked less than happy at everything that was going on. Earlier that day, as Harrison had found Kushina, who was searching the entire village for Katsumi, as she was in a strange state He had to bring her to training ground 4, so that she wouldn't lash out at anyone for her misery right now, after finding out that Naruto was her son. And he told her about what happened. Let's just say training ground 4 would not be usable for the foreseeable future. And no one heard anything about Naruto at all. Even the envoys that he placed there said that no one had entered or left the mansion at all. He did the best to ignore the pit in his stomach. He had a major meeting that he was gonna go over at the moment, when his 4 guests finally arrived though. Meanwhile, at Namikaze's mansion, one Naruto Uzumaki was on the bed, bandage all over his chest, as he was just lying there. He has been sleeping for the past 2 days, but today was the day that he finally woke up. The first thing that came from his mouth, damn it, I feel like I've been stabbed through the chest. Oh, yeah, I did, he said, as Naruto looked around. Thankfully, Natsume was able to enter the seal and speak to him in there while his body recovered. On the outside from that transformation, not to mention the wounds, and that poison that was purged from his body from Orochimaru blade, but he will be fine. As he felt resistance, unmoving his arm as he saw Yujito sleeping right beside him, using his arm as a pillow. As he bit back a joke when he saw a small amount of jewel leaking from her mouth. As he reached a hand forward and caressed her hair, as a small smile came on her face, as she purred a bit. Gonna have to do something to thank her for helping me, said Naruto. What about me? Don't take it a thank you. I mean, I was the one that healed you, said Natsume. Her voice was echoing through his head as she was currently residing in the seal. You were alone with me for almost 2 days, Natsu-chan. I think that should be enough for a reward for you, said Naruto. And if that wasn't, need I remind you the things that we did while there? I would say in the river, against a tree, on the mountain peak, on the bed. That should be enough reward for you, isn't it, said Naruto. Those were definitely nice rewards, my foxes-sama, she said, even though we didn't use our real bodies. Very well, I'll let it slide, she said. As the two were talking, Yujito felt something rushing across her head, a rather pleasant feeling, as she woke up slowly. Her mind instantly snapped on Naruto as she snapped open her eyes. She then turned as she saw him, with a small smile on his face. As he was the one caressing her head, it brought a smile to her face instantly. Hey Yujito-chan, he said. I hope you slept well. Tears instantly welled in her eyes to see that he was awake and okay. As she crashed into him with a hug, Naruto-kan, she cried, wrapping her arms around him in a death hug as she released her tears against his chest. As Naruto simply rubbed her back, letting her release all of her tears. As they stayed like that for a good 5 minutes until she pulled back and wiped away her tears. Idiot, she shouted. She tried to sound angry, but she was just so happy that he was okay. This is the second time you've done this to me. If I didn't consider you so close to me, I would call you an inconsiderate asshole, she said. Oh hell, you are an inconsiderate asshole, she said. But yet there was a small smile on her lips, as she was happy. Yes, that I am, Yujito-chan, he said. But in my defense, I had no idea what was going on. If I knew, that wouldn't have happened. I know, she said. He lifted the sheet as he looked. Would you mind getting me some clothes to change into, he asked. It seems Natsu-chan is under the impression that I would be better off if I didn't wear any clothes, as Yujito's eyes were right on the sheet where his lower region was. As Naruto smirked at that. Or perhaps you wait until Natsu-chan went into the seal, so you can have me all to yourself to take a peek, said Naruto. Her cheeks turned red instantly, making him laugh. As Yujito turned her head, as she went through his clothing, she grabbed the Jonin pants instead of the loose one that he wore. In tune exam, she tossed it towards him. Thank you, he said, as she turned her back. As Naruto quickly changed into his clothes. I knew I just got up, but I'm going to go after Hana-chan, he said. Before she could turn, he pulled her into a tight hug. But before I go, I just want to say thanks for taking care of an idiot like me while I was injured. As he held on to her and whispered in her ear. She knew that he would want to go after her instantly. She knew how much Naruto cared about her. So she simply hugged him back. Just be careful, okay, she said. As he simply gave her a nod. Save her. After all, what would you do without me, Natsume, or Hana-chan around? I would probably eat ramen all day, and wear nothing but orange clothing, while going around and play pranks on people, and being a naive shinobi who believes that people are trying to kill me want to be my friend, he said, and end every sentence with, believe it. As the both of them laughed, that someone like that would actually exist. As they calmed down. What are you and your mom gonna do now that I'm back, he asked. I was actually thinking that we could stay here a bit longer until we figure it out. Is that okay? Of course, said Naruto. Stay as long as you want. Although, Natsume and myself are probably gonna leave Konoha after we get Hana back. I certainly understand that, she said, that you wouldn't want to stay here for any longer. Thank you, she said, appreciating that he told her to stay as long as she wanted. He gave her a nod before stepping back as he created a hand sign. As Natsume appeared, I assume that you heard, as she nodded. Okay then, I'll be back with Hana-chan tomorrow, so you should start packing the essentials in scrolls, so we can leave immediately after. I know the council is gonna try to come up with something after my little episode at the village gates. Yujito and Natsume nodded as he understood. Good I'm off then, he said, as he gave Natsume a kiss. Yujito-chan, do me a favor and thank your mom for her help as well, said Naruto. And with that he vanished in purple flames. He appeared in front of the office door as Yamato was the one there, thankfully, because he thought he would have to knock out the guard. Oh, Yamato-san, is the old man a meeting? Naruto asked. Yamato was surprised to see Naruto because in the past 2 days, they haven't heard anything about him and now here he was, completely fine. Yes, a meeting had just begun. As Naruto sent the people inside, one of them was Tasume. Well, with who in there, I guess I have to interrupt, said Naruto. As he reached forward, Yamato held his hand. At least tell the Hokage I tried to stop you, okay? Said Yamato. Will do, said Naruto as he opened the door. As he closed the door behind him as he entered, Naruto, a pair of voice. They were surprised. After all, no one knew about his condition. But here he was fine. Hey old man, mom, said Naruto, as he was talking to Tasume, calling her mom, ignoring the others in the room. He didn't even spare them a glance. Naruto, how are you? We didn't even hear a word back, and you left us worrying sick, said the old man. Sorry about that. There will be time to explain later, but for now, I would like to know the actions the villagers took to get back Hana-chan, he said, as he walked up to Tasume and placed a hand on her shoulder. Why should you care? A voice said, as Naruto turned, as he saw the remaining Uzumaki family there. All of them were there, each of them having a different show of emotion over their faces. Kyosuro had an indifferent look on his face, but he was also curious to hear what Naruto's answer would be. As for values, he was the one that posed the question after all. He was looking at Naruto with nothing but hatred and contempt. Seems like Minato's speech did nothing to change him. Kushina's teachings were too ingrained in him. Lastly was Kushina. Her face was blank, as she was afraid to give off anything. She wasn't angry, she wasn't sad. There's nothing. There was too much emotions inside of her right now for her to give off any one of them, and she didn't know what to give off. But all of it was being shown in her eyes. Happiness that this was indeed her son. Pure sadness and anger at herself that she treated him like a monster. For these past 10 years, look how powerful he was. He had the power to demolish and decimate all of them for what they did, but yet he chose to take the high road. And she called him a monster, and yet the things that she had done. A part of her mind hoped that somehow, some way she could reconcile with him and be the mother that she should have been. But she knew his hatred ran deep for her. She didn't know how she was going to make up for that. She didn't know how she was going to prove to him that she was sorry. That she didn't know how she could do it. That is why her face was blank. Her mind was on the verge of shutting down, seeing them once again. The emotions, they were just too much of them. Don't be so presumptuous, Uzumaki values, said Naruto. I want to know what this village has done so far, regarding rescuing one of their shinobis. And more importantly, one of my mates, said Naruto. Now isn't the time for this, said Sarutobi, dreading what would be the state of his office, seeing that Naruto was currently in here, along with his family. To answer your question, Naruto-kan, the meeting that you currently interrupted is related to that. That is why they're all here. So you haven't sent anyone out yet, said Naruto. Naruto-kan, you have to understand that. I understand, Jiji, said Naruto. And it's a good thing that you did not, because if you had, you'd have to call them back because I'll be going myself. Naruto-kan, I know that you're worried, but I can't send you alone out to get her. In case you've forgotten, I'm not exactly part of Konoha, so you can't order me to stay. Nor could you force me to stay either, said Naruto. It would be a waste of manpower that you cannot afford at the moment, and I'm sorry, but I am going to go after her. And it would be a waste of your shinobis if you send them to try and stop me from going out there, said Naruto. The reason I'm here telling you this is out of respect for you. That is why I haven't yet left, said Naruto. Sarutobi was silent, knowing that he could not actually stop him if he wanted to leave. Well, as you stated, I can't exactly stop you, but I can ask you not to be reckless with how you go to get her back. From that episode at the gates, I can tell that you're very agitated right now. Try to stay calm, remember. You're going out there to save her. If you let your emotions rule you, Hana-san might die as a consequence. As Naruto nodded, "Oh, and if I may ask, you stated Hana-san only in your rescue plans. Are you not going to save Kasumi Uzumaki?" "I asked because if you do not, I'm going to have to send my own forces to save her with you as well." As Naruto looked Sarutobi in the eyes, he grunted before vanishing in flames. Kushina did not understand what the grunt meant as she got up. "Hokage-sama will be back," she said as she vanished in a column of water. Her two other boys got up. "You two stay here," Hiruzen said. She wished to speak to him alone. Just like he said, you can't order us around if we want to leave said values. But suddenly the both of them were wrapped up in 3 limbs. As Hiruzen looked towards Yamato, "Thank you. Please hold them until Kushina returned." "Yes, Hokage-sama." Meanwhile, as Naruto appeared at the gates, he could already smell Hana's scent. He would have continued until he felt someone appear behind him. "Wait!" The pleading voice of Kushina came. He did not turn to look at her. "What is it?" he said. She tensed at the tone of his voice. "I want you to answer the question Hokage-sama asked you in the office." There was no anger or malice in her tone like before. It was just a pleading request. "And why should I?" said Naruto. Her emotions started to crack. The wall that she built up started to break. Tears started to gather in her eyes. "Because I want to know if you won't save your sister, despite your past thus. Would you really leave her there? In your attempts of saving that Hana girl?" "I have no reason to save her," said Naruto. "She's not my family, she's not my friend. And she's already tried to kill me multiple times in our battle. She even killed my blood clone. You should be giving me a proper reason why I should save her instead of asking me if I'm going to." Tears started to slip down her eyes as she could not protest against that. But she had to save her daughter. "Then I'm coming with you," she said. "I promise I won't get in your way. If you aren't willing to save Kasumi yourself, I'm coming with you," she said. As Naruto did not say anything, in truth he was planning on saving Katsumi the entire time. His grunt in the office was a silent yes to Sarutobi, not to mention Tatsumi knew that he would do the right thing. "You would only slow me down," said Naruto. "Tell the old man I'll be back by tomorrow." His shoulder was gripped though. "I'm not leaving my daughter in the hands of Orochimaru. You know where they were taken, and I'm not gonna let you leave until you agree to bring me with you." He raised the eyebrow for her demanding anything from him, and she knew the difference in their strength. He was the only one that could chat the two females after so long, so she needed him. She couldn't find her daughter without him. As she gripped his shoulder tightly, she wasn't going to let him go. He slowly turned and slammed a fist into her gut. She dropped to her knees, cradling her stomach. "As I said, you will only slow me down. I'll return tomorrow," he said. And with that he disappeared in swirling flames. As Kushina gripped onto her stomach, he was gone. She couldn't catch him at the speed that he was moving at. She could only pray. As she lowered her head, "Kami-sama," she said, "I know I don't deserve any favors after what I've done, but please let me be wrong about all the things I've said about him. Please, allow him to save my daughter. Though not for me after all I did, but for her sake. Please," she begged to the heavens, to whatever deity that could hear her. As she sat there on the ground, tears running down her face, praying to the heavens. Later that evening, the night was strangely frightful and cold. It was different from usual nights in Fire Country. It was never this cold before. "Pretty strange night, huh, Izumo?" said Katetsu. "I suppose, but it's nothing for a shinobi," Izumo said. "True, but the moon, look at it." The moon was strangely bordering on a crimson color. And that purple beam, what the hell do you think that was? "I have no idea, but the Hokage did send envoys to investigate. But it's rather far away from here. If it's something we need to worry about, we will know soon. I suppose we..." Katetsu paused, as something flashed right in front of the gates, startling both men, as it was a pair of Naruto holding bundles in their arms. But the thing was, both of them were caked in dry blood, from head to toe. It didn't seem to be their blood though. It was someone else. The bundles in their arms were bloody as well. They could not identify the two bundles because cloaks were covering them. As Naruto spoke, "Take her immediately to the hospital. Then go find the Hokage and tell him I was successful. And then find her mother and tell her she's there. Do not answer any questions. Understood?" The clone nodded. As the clone jumped away towards the hospital, as Naruto looked down towards his own bundle, as he brushed some hair from her face. "Welcome back. I'll help you get cleaned up, and then make you get some rest, Hana-chan," he said. Before Katetsu or Izumo could say a single thing, Naruto vanished in a swirl of purple flames. That was interesting. Yeah, Seikadetsu. Should we alert the Hokage? Meanwhile, at the Inazaka compound, Kiba was sitting down in the living room as he was worried sick about Hana. Mom, do you really think that Naruto could bring back Hana alone? He said. If there's anyone I can trust to bring back Hana-chan, it would be Naruto. Said Tatsumi as she was cooking, stress cooking, as she couldn't calm her nerves one bit, as she knew the sick, sadistic things that Orochimaru did in the past. And he had her daughter. There was a knock on the door though. Algit said Kiba as he made his way towards the door, as Tatsumi watched him walk off. She didn't hear him call, Mom! As Tatsumi rushed around the corner, hearing the panic in his voice, as she gasped at what she saw, as Naruto and Hana was in the same fashion that Aizumo and Kadetsu saw them in. Naruto-kun? As Naruto gave her a simple nod, as he was drenched in blood. Hey Mom, he said, as he stepped into the house, as he took off the hood of Hana's cloak. Mission accomplished. As Hana was covered in blood, as Kiba looked at her. She's just sleeping. I know, I just brought her back to you, but she needs to get cleaned up, said Naruto. I rushed her back immediately after I found her. They heard his tone, it sounded sad. Let's get her to the bathroom, said Tatsumi, as Naruto followed behind her. As Kiba sat down on the ground as he breathed a sigh of relief. His sister was fine. As she placed Hana down in the tub. Naruto-kun, my nose is a lot better than Kiba's, said Tatsumi. Her voice sounded a bit broken. I know, said Naruto, as tears came from her eyes. She was raped, wasn't she? The tears come from her eyes, falling down in Hana. Yes, said Naruto. As Tatsumi looked towards her daughter, tears pooling from her eyes. It was a unspoken nightmare for every Kunoichi, given the work that they do. And with Hana, tragic past already, she did not know how her daughter would come out of this, okay? And what would be her mental state once she woke up? Do you have any idea if she's pregnant? Asked Tatsumi, as she knew that Naruto knew medical ninjutsu. I didn't find anything to indicate that she was, said Naruto. If you want my opinion, no, I don't think she is. But only time will tell, he said, as Tatsumi nodded, tears still leaking from her eyes. As she clenched her fists, did you meet those bastards pay? As she glanced towards Naruto, she saw the cold look in his eyes. I ripped them to shreds. Did you see that purple beam of energy, he said. Yeah, she said. That was one of my strongest attacks. I eviscerated them, after tearing them limb from limb. After what they did, they deserved no better. She had a thankful look on her face. Towards Naruto, she was glad that those bastards did not get away with what they did. And what about Katsume Uzumaki? I know that you would not just leave her. You have too much honor to do something like that. She's at the hospital, said Naruto. Most likely. My clone has told her mother what is going on. I see. The council will want to speak to you about the events that took place. I know. I'm not looking forward towards it, said Naruto, as he looked down towards Hana, as the tears in Tatsumi's eyes kept on flowing. Please don't think less of me for asking this. But I have to ask, she said. Will you still love her? Even if later on we found out that she was pregnant by one of those bastards that you killed? I am surprised that you would ask me something like that, said Naruto. But I understand as her mother that you would. But to answer your question, there is nothing in this world that will make me stop loving her, said Naruto. And even if she's pregnant, and would bear the responsibility of carrying the child, I will be there for her and for the child, who is not to blame for none of this. It would be a simple, innocent baby, and I will make sure that the baby is raised properly, he said. Tatsumi breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you, Naruto, she said, tears still flowing down her face. Not a problem. It's your right to act as a mother, said Naruto. I'll be back in about a half an hour, he said, as she turned and gave him a nod, as Naruto made his way off. As Tatsumi looked down towards her daughter and held her in her arms, as she cried. Her daughter has been through so much already, but she was grateful for Naruto being there by her side as well. Time skip. 30 minutes later, as Naruto returned, Hana was finally awake. But guys, to be in subscribe right here. If you want to see the next person, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King 3 of What If Naruto Had the Deadliest Bloodline. Enjoy that, guys. And also, remember for new, yes, I indeed have 3 channels. Anime King 2, Anime King 3, which I post what if on every single day for you guys to enjoy. So go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. But for now, I'm out of here. See you guys soon. Peace.